What if the success or the failure of your entire advice career came down to just a few key habits? Sounds simple, doesn't it? Right? But what if that's the case? This week, I'm joined by someone who has seen it all, from the cold calls in the 90s, which I don't fondly want to remember, and to building one of the country's top product providers, a massive franchise inside of that space. Today, I'm joined by Ettienne Wilsnagh, and he has spent 31 years in financial services, and he believes he has cracked the code on what makes financial advisors thrive and what makes them fail. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. If even Kobus Klein stands down here dancing, I saw you, Kobus. I know the music is finding its way into people's hearts and minds. And so we know we're getting there. Good morning. Good morning. Warm welcome to the show. Another good one. For the next number of weeks, we have guests galore. So I'm really excited after a bit of having a stint of doing my own thing. And sharing with you a lot of stuff around AI, etc. We're back to interviewing guests. We've got some phenomenal guests, and we're kicking off with a good one. We've got Ettienne Wilsnagh with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about his journey. He's got quite an interesting journey, not quite, a very, very interesting journey. I had the privilege of hearing him speak at the Fairbairn Consult conference. He said it was something that took him out of his comfort zone. He's never really done that before. It's the first time that he's really starting to be that vulnerable and open and sort of share his story. And he did a bloody good job of that, more than pretty good. So, I had to chat to him at the airport. I said, this would be great. He said yes, and, here we are. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. Who else is joining us? Nikki is here with the latest stories, news, and all of the good things. We also have Rudolf with us. Rudolf today saying it's flex some technical muscles. So we're going to talk about that. I see he's down here, and he's ready. He's like doing the Tony Robbins, jumping up and down. And then we have Kobus with us, and Kobus talking about his 24 years on the advisor path, a journey of passion and purpose. Also, I don't think many people really know Kobus's entire story. I think many do, but many also don't his entire story. There was a life before advice and a life after advice. So that's also quite an interesting one. And then Lene, obviously, I don't know what the heck she's going to be up to today, but she's bringing us all the announcements and thingies that we need to know about. And then I'll get into the conversation with Ettienne. And then at the end, I will announce who my guest is for next week as well. So on that note, you won't believe what I just clicked. I clicked end stream. Luckily, you got to click it twice. Sure. Misclick. Righty, Kobus. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Terence, good morning. Thank goodness it's Friday. Neil Phillips, goeiemorgen. Nice to see you. Frederick, good morning. Colleagues from a cool Somerset West. I'm probably just down the road from Franschhoek. Where are you? Where's the invite for the coffee? Just wink, wink. Johan, good morning. Nice to see you. Almin in the house, good morning. We've got Cindy in the house, good morning. Deborah is here, good morning, Debs. Nasima is here as well, good morning. Francis is here, good morning. I hear Joburg is getting a lot better. And Ben is also here saying good morning, everyone. Lisi, I'm still battling with that X a little bit there, Alfred. I'm going to get there. Refilway, good morning. Nice to see you as well. Johan is here, good morning, Johan. We've got Chriswell is in the house. We've got Carl. Greg is here. We've got Tilo. Good morning. First time I think I've seen you here. First time maybe you're saying hi, but good morning. We've got Ryan in the house. Good morning, Ryan. Nice to see you. And Machidi is here as well. Thank you very much for saying hi. Right, ladies and gents, let me save us a minute and let's get on with the show. Here is Nikki with the latest news.
Good morning, everybody, from a lovely, lovely sunny Johannesburg. Somehow we skipped spring this year, and it's not even September because we had winter, and then it was summer, and I don't know, spring was maybe on a Thursday this year. But let's have a look. The one big thing that you could not have missed this week in the news, and I thought I would just shine some light on this as well, is that the Jannie Mouton Stichting has made an ambitious 7.2 billion buyout offer for listed private schools group Curo. Now, what do they want to do? They want to buy out the shares and delist from the JSE for a few reasons, and I'll get to that now. It's actually fairly interesting to see what they want to do with Curo. The share price of Curo rocketed 52% in morning trade on Wednesday morning after the SENS announcement that this is going to happen. The proposed 13 Rand per share scheme of arrangement would see Curo delist from the JSE and would then be operated as a not-for-profit company. Now, obviously, this has to go through a certain process. Shareholders will have to vote on the scheme once the regulatory approvals from the Competition Commission and the Reserve Bank are obtained. But what they want to do is they want to have the largest philanthropic contribution to buy this out that South Africa has ever seen. But over time, this will open the door for thousands more children to attend Curo schools through bursaries, broadening access to excellent education. I watched the Daily Maverick summit yesterday for a little bit, and they were talking about education again and how big of a problem specifically early childhood education is in South Africa. And if we don't find a way in South Africa to get this right, we will never get ourselves out of this hole we are in. So this type of thing that seems to be happening, where public sector is working with the private sector and they're trying to create more opportunities, is actually fairly brilliant. So what are they going to do once they have got this proposed transaction through? They want to expand Curo's reach and create new opportunities for learners. And at this point in time, it could take anywhere from 10 to 30 years in the plan that they've got. However, with this deal in place, their current CEO says that those ambitions could be realized much sooner, because once it's delisted from the JSE and converted into a non-profit, it would allow the company to reallocate resources more directly toward expanding its footprint in ways that serve the broader needs of company. So their plan is to continue doing what they're doing well, but the profits that they generate will be reinvested. This means that you will not necessarily pay less school fees if your kid is in there and you can afford it, but the profits will actually be used to upgrade the facilities, to make sure that there's bursaries for talented learners, and to actually build schools in disadvantaged communities. A school does not have to make a profit then. So this will be interesting to see if this actually works out, and if there's a way, if in this way, it will actually assist the education system in South Africa. And then just lastly, I read a very interesting article on a Canadian website about a study that was done there by TD Bank that shows that 68% of Gen Z Canadians are investing consistently on a yearly basis, the highest across any age demographic. So this is fascinating, and they have stories that they are telling. So Mr. Matthew Robertson is 18, and he set up a tax-free savings account in Canada. And he then started helping himself by personal finance apps on his phone and listening to podcasts to plug himself into the stock market. Now, he's now 21, and he said that finances are actually a personal interest project, but he's also learned to pay attention because he wants to build his own future. And he said, we want to take our finances into our own hands if we want to be able to afford a home one day or be able to raise a family. And then they speak about all these different young people that are actually doing their own thing by listening to financial influencers. But it was very interesting that I read a part in here that says, we want to take advice. Now, this is a quote from one of the young people. We want to take advice from people who get it, people who we can relate to, people who look like us and sound like us, not just experts walking around in suits and making things feel very, very formal and clinical. And I thought that is actually a brilliant quote um, to end this week of remember to grow your business by pulling younger advisors into your own business, because the Gen Zs, which is not the millennials, not it's the lot thereafter. So it's not, my son is now 21 and he's actually a Gen Z. So these young people actually need advice, but they want it from someone who looks and sounds like them. Just a thought. Then on the 9th of September, if you are in Johannesburg, please join us for LeaderX. You can register at www.leaderx.com and use the code FPI in capital letters, guest in small letters, to register for free. And come and join us on the day. We've got a powwow lineup, and that's not just us. There are many other people you can listen to. The lineup is also available on the LeaderX website. We are looking forward to seeing everybody there on the 9th of September at the Sandton Convention Center for LeaderX. Thank you so much, Francois, and have a lovely weekend.
Amazingness. Thank you very much, Nikki. I don't think we've got a shortage of people who would want to come and help that looks like them, sounds like them. Our challenge is, how do we make them get in and stay in? I think that's also a big thing that we need to put our heads together and see, how do we do it? Because things have changed dramatically from the time when Ettienne, for example, started, and when Kobus started, and what everybody has started before, right? So it's a very different thing. And that's probably a big conversation we need to have on the show as well. But thank you, Nikki. It will be good to solve that problem, right? And we want to do it together. Next up, we have Rudolf. And Rudolf is going to be flexing his technical muscles, or saying rather why we should be flexing our technical muscles. So looking forward to that.
Sorry, technical difficulties, I'm muted. So with the show segment called Money, Meaning and Beyond, you would probably be wondering, well, why on earth is today's session called Flexing Your Technical Muscle? And it's because of a conversation that Ben and I had in this week, as I was trying to find out what exactly I want to share with all of you here today. And I think the tension point for me as a financial planner who knows that we need to connect with people at a deeply human level is we're also certified financial planner professionals, or financial planning professionals working up to that title, or people just like really caring about their clients. So we need to have some sense of technical expertise, am I right? But to what point though is, I guess, what I want to unpack today. A couple of years ago, after I completed a coaching course, I was up in Johannesburg and phoned up Kim Potgieter and I said, listen, I want to come and have a coffee at your office, see the operations. And I asked her about this grapple that I have, because I said I'm a certified financial planner, but I'm also now not a qualified coach. Please don't get me wrong. I'm probably more of an armchair coach, but I've got this new lens that I look at the world at, and I've got a new way of working with my clients in terms of how I listen and how I ask questions. And I said, I'm grappling. Do I pursue coaching even more? What do I do? And she very simply and honestly looked me in the face and went, Rudolf, you're a CFP professional. Do that and just use your coaching skills. I was like, okay, that's helpful. It's really, really helpful. And then I said, okay, well, I mean, we're having different kind of conversations with clients, trying to help them get to their hopes and their dreams for their life, not my hopes and dreams for their life. But I don't necessarily want to just be so technical all the time and use words that they don't understand, and maybe talk to them about things that I find interesting, but they don't really care about. And that was the question that I had with Ben. I was like, Ben, but how do we actually position this morning? And he said, well, think about this. If you go to your doctor, they want you to get better, right? Because you go to the doctor if something's wrong. And then maybe you suffer from headaches. So you decide on this one fateful day to go to your doctor and say, listen, doctor, I've got a bit of a headache. What do they do as a doctor? Do they necessarily tell you like where headaches originate from by explaining the complicated makeup of the brain and the head and the connection of the muscles and the sinews and the tension points, and that also like going into the Latin words, and then they would ask you about your history, but they would go like really deep and really like left field, and then they say, okay, Rudolf, I think I know what your problem is with your headaches. I think I'm going to give you this medication. And then they would explain the makeup of the medication too. And they would say, Rudolf, well, we're going to subscribe ibuprofen or ibupain. It's 250 milligrams of ibuprofen and paracetamol and this and that. 32% of the capsule is the... No, never. I mean, what they will do if you ask is explain it to you. But what do they want to help? What do they want to help me with to get better? So they will go, Rudolf, I hear that you've got headaches and it's probably this or probably that, but I'll give you something. That's what they say. Rudolf, as your doctor, I'll give you something to make you feel better. And I'm like, happy days. I run out with the script to the nearest pharmacy and get the medication, take it as quickly as I can in the car to make the headache stop. And I guess that's probably the fine balance of us and our relationships with our clients, to get to the place where we answer their questions like, am I okay? And then those that ask, we then have a very clear answer as to why our recommendations will suit their needs. We can't then go, let's say, go back to the doctor example. I tell the doctor, well, why are you giving me on the script ibupains, for example? I mean, I don't know. It's just one of the drugs that the drug rep that recently came to visit my office told me about. I'm sure it will be fine. Like, that's not a reasonable response. So I guess the tension that I want to highlight for us in our day-to-day work is to have a lens in every conversation as to how we answer a client very simply, very plainly, that you are going to be okay if we do the following couple of things, and have a deep sense of conviction as to why we say that, the research that we've done, the deep hard work we've done internally in the office. And we don't have to brag and show that to the client that we've done that. It can simply be a case of, we've done this before, we've taken all of your circumstances into account, and this journey will help you be okay. And then if the client asks, well, why do you say that? Okay, well, we've looked at your estate planning, and by changing this, it has a positive impact on that. Or why we're going to change your investment allocation, because it will help you get to your goals in a more efficient manner, or it will be a smoother journey for you. Or we're going to change your medical aid from this option to that option, because it will be in aid of peace of mind that you can go to any specialist. That's all I touched on. And then we can obviously show the clients our documentation for those that really want to know, but most, I don't believe, want to know. They just want to know that we are happy with them, or that they're happy with us and that they're very comfortable. So I guess that's what I want to leave with. Think about the conversations you have with your clients today and next week, and ask yourself the question, is it really necessary for me to flex my technical muscle? Or do I want to flex my technical muscle because I want to show off? That's okay too. Do I want to flex my technical muscle because this client needs it to say yes and to have better comfort? Absolutely. But I guess putting yourself in the client's shoes, if you were to bombard them about Regulation 28 because they were interested in maybe having a bit of a tax saving by increasing their retirement contributions, and now we speak to them about the maximum and minimum things of Reg 28 and offshore allocations. So think about that. I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful Friday and a week ahead, and see you guys very soon.
Thank you very much, Rudolf. And this camera has gone off again. I must see what is up with this camera. It was fine last week. Anyway, so got Can't do that. Let me do this. So with that, thank you very much, Rudolf. Love the energy, love the passion. And talking about passion, next up is Kobus with Advisor's Path and sharing his 24-year journey of purpose and passion.
Hi, Rudolf. That was profound and powerful, my friend. Good morning, my friends. This month, I celebrate 24 years in our profession. And standing in front of you on the camera, I realized just how much of my life has been shaped by this path. When I started out, I had no idea what these years would demand of me and no idea of the extraordinary gift they would bring me. I entered this profession with ambition, like many of us do. But it very quickly taught me that ambition alone is not enough. What you need is grit, because markets will test you. You need humility, because clients will trust you with their most private fears. You need persistence, because regulations and compliance can sometimes feel like an endless mountain to climb. But if you stay the course, what you discover is that this path is not really about selling products or quoting returns. It is about people, and it is about their stories and their dreams. Clients want to know if we care, if we listen, and if we are truly walking with them through life's uncertainties. That is what has kept me going for 24 years. I've often said that balance is not a luxury. It is a necessity, and part of my journey has been building a life where I can work from anywhere while still being fully present for my clients. My travels from Istanbul to Clarence, from Umhlanga to Barcelona, have taught me that technology gives us the ability to remain close to our clients, no matter where we are. But it also reminds us that we must live the very lives we are helping our clients to plan for. What is the value of preaching financial freedom if we are not living it ourselves? Through this journey, I've had my wife Krista by my side, my equal partner in life and in career. She always reminds me that our profession is about relationships and the people whose lives we shape, but who also shape our lives. Without her support, balance, and wisdom, my 24 years in this profession would look very different. When I think about the lessons these years has given me, the first is that our profession is about legacy, not transactions. The greatest legacy we can leave is not the policies written or the funds managed, but the lives we touch and the peace of mind we give our clients. I think of clients who faced a health crisis, who lost loved ones, who needed someone to stand beside them when life happened. Being that person, being that trusted advisor, is the most rewarding part of our work. The second lesson is that we must raise the bar for ourselves and for each other. Titles, designation, awards, those are milestones, but they are not the destination. The true measure of our profession is whether we leave it stronger than we found it, whether we pass the torch to the next generation with integrity, with passion, and with a commitment to treating customers fairly. The third lesson is balance. Too many in our profession burn out chasing the numbers. I know what that feels like because I did it in a corporate world. I choose a different path this time. I built a brand around working from anywhere, not because it sounds fashionable, but because it allows me to remain energized, creative, and close to the people who matters most. Fishing by a river, observing Krista painting in Clarence, playing with my grandchildren Olivia and Carter. Those moments are not distractions from my work. They are the very fuel that gives my work meaning. As I mark 24 years, I feel grateful. But more importantly, I feel responsible. Responsible to honor those who walk before me. Responsible to guide those walking with me. And responsible to inspire those who will come after me and you. So if I leave you with one thought today, it is this: your path is unique, but walk it with purpose. Do not measure your worth by commission slips or production numbers. Measure it by the trust you earn, the lives you change, and the legacies you leave behind. This profession has given me the freedom to work from anywhere, the privilege to walk with clients through their life stories, and the joy of building a life I love while serving others. It is a gift, and it comes with a duty to protect the integrity of what we do, and a duty to remind ourselves and our clients that financial planning is not just a career, it is a calling. After 24 years, I'm still as passionate about this profession as the day I started. And I'm more convinced than ever that success is not measured by the size of your practice, but by the richness of your relationships. Friends, live this profession with passion, live it with balance, and never forget that we are not just writing policies, we are writing legacies. Thank you, and over to you, Francois.
Thank you very much, Kobus. And we are flying today, apart from the Dover camera. That's all fine. Next up, we have Lene, and let's see what she's up to today and what she has to share with us.
Right, glasses on, focus mode activated. Let's get crystal clear about what's coming up. So first up, are you still just mentioning tax in your advice and not actually leveraging it? So Francois is hosting the next tax-based webinar, and this one is going to flip the script. So he's going to be diving into how to use tax to grow your business and not just stay compliant. So that's happening on the 4th of September, which, if I'm not wrong, that's next week. So you better hurry and go find the link in the description to go and register for this webinar. It's free to attend, so everyone is welcome. You can come with your questions or your curiosity and see how you can use this as a business growth tool. Okay, this one is a big one. Think keynotes, think energy, think real, think practical strategies for your listing 2025. It's all about the 4 pillars of future-ready practices. Values aligned, holistic, tech-enabled, and resilient. And yes, it's virtual. We are currently waiting on our CPD approval, so we'll let you know how many CPD points will be available once we get that. If you're a PROpulsion member, you get a complimentary ticket included in your membership. You can go onto the platform and book your ticket that way. And if you are not a member, hop onto our website, or again, in the description, I always put all the links, so you can just click on the ticket link and it will take you straight to the page to purchase your ticket. That's happening on the 7th of October. And remember, for all of the details and ticket links, please have a look at our description down below. Then for our last announcement this week, have you ever felt like hedge funds is this mysterious creature that no one really explains? Well, we've got you. This is a member-only session that will take place on our platform, and in this session, we're going to be breaking down fund categories, regulation, where hedge funds fit in with Regulation 28, LAs, and more. So it's like hedge funds 101, but better. So make sure you RSVP for that if you are a member. If you are interested in this workshop, you are more than welcome to have a look at how to become a member. Also, all of the information on our website or in the description down below. If you want to have a chat with one of us, you're more than welcome to email us. I promise you it will be the best decision of 2025. So members, on the platform, under the events tab, you can go and RSVP if you would like to attend this workshop. And it's happening on the 18th of September. And there's going to be a live Q&A afterwards, where you can come with your questions and you'll be leaving with answers. Right, so that's your update for this week. Now that we're all seeing clearly, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with an advisor bestie. These glasses don't just help you with blue light, they help you spot opportunity. But okay, let me take these off before I start doing spreadsheets for fun. I'll see you again next Friday. Bye!
So, as I mentioned earlier, Eric has spent more than 30 years in the life industry. He started as an advisor, sort of straight out of school. Although I remember there was some other things that happened as well. He moved into sales management and later building and owning 2 very successful franchises. After selling his franchise last year, he's now focused on sharing the lessons he's learned to help grow this profession and to guide the next generation of advisors. So on that note, Ettienne, warm welcome to PROpulsion Live.
Thank you, Francois. Good morning.
I'm really looking forward to this discussion. So I'm going to get straight into it, Ettienne, because there is a long list of things we're going to talk about. We'll see how far we get. This is almost like flink dunk back in the day, you know, so I can see how far we get. But excited for this. My whole purpose with today is to sort of take people on your journey and sort of through the journey that you've been on, apart from the lessons and things that you've learned, because I think it's important to also get the background and sort of all of those kinds of things to sort of get a real appreciation for the journey. And so I want to start off with asking you, can you take us back a little bit to 1994 when you first joined the life industry? How did you get in? What drew you in? What is it that made Ettienne go, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, thank you, Francois. Yeah, it's a combination of a few realities. But I remember very specifically meeting people that's been in the industry at the time, and I was actually with the municipality earning a basic salary, and I still remember my dad being quite disappointed that I left that position to go and, as he said, sell polisse. But yeah, eventually, after a few months, I also think the contribution of the time we were in 1992, the country was not in a very healthy place. And I looked at my future and thought, this is not ideal. Not really aware of my own ability at the time. It was really just potluck. And I met these people and I saw what they were doing and the wealth they were creating for their families. And I then decided, and I'm going to try this. And I was introduced to a dear friend of mine, who's still a very close friend of mine today, Tommy Groenink, who was a manager at Sanlam. And Thomas decided he's going to take his chances with me. I actually laughed years later. He shared that in the interviews, some of the other managers felt that, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel by recruiting traffic officers to sell polisse in Sanlam at the time. But he took his luck on me. Today I can say that was probably the biggest moment in my life, because somebody believed in you as a person. And I still am fond of Tommy. I still see him often. He's now in his 80s. And I think that was the reminder that, somewhere in my life, somebody believed in me and had the opportunity, took the opportunity to guide me through what was to become my life. And I think that's where I'm at now, but a similar age to what Tommy was at the time. And that's now my time. And there's a Professor Brooks, wrote a book called From Strength to Strength, and he talks to the second half of my life, and I'm in that second half now. So yeah, and it's been an incredibly blessed 30 years. I do think though that, some of the challenges that I'm personally still challenged by is the political history of the country and the fact that we can do more to diversify the industry and to create opportunity for more people, more advisors, specifically more advisors of color. And that's kind of the journey I'm on at the moment, Francois.
Yeah, I'd love it. And then tell me, Ettienne, what was it like? There's this guy, he saw something in you. I don't think he didn't go like, let's see if let's throw the mud against the wall and see if it sticks. I don't think those people were very wise, Yeah. They're able to spot talent and they're able to spot tenacity and they're able to, even if you don't think that you have that yourself. But here's this guy, he sees something in you that you have no idea what that is, but he believed in you. And then you said, okay, I'm going to give this a good chance. But what was it like then, getting started in those first few years? Because, that was back in the 90s, right? That was pre-phase, everything we know today. It was a very different world, as you said. It was very different. So what was just maybe a glimpse of back? What was that like for you to get started?
It was the time of rate books, and we didn't have laptops yet. So most youngsters wouldn't even understand what I just said. But yeah, we didn't even have computers at the time. You were still calculating premium on the back of a cigarette box. But I think what was for me a differentiator, and I in the slide that I presented last week in Durban where you met me, I said that there were fundamentals that I introduced to my practice from the start, from day one. Okay, and one was what I call the differentiator. So a little bit of history. By the time I joined Sanlam, I had 8 or 9 people that left the city of Cape Town, the traffic department, tried the life industry and failed. So there I'm sitting and I'm saying, Ettienne, but you're the 9th guy. What makes you so special? So I knew that I needed to do something special. And I started the concept of a needs analysis, but mine was more emotion-based. It wasn't based on product. And, I realized then already that if I could tap into the need of the client by asking really good questions, I would be different. And I created a formula over the last 30 years. I actually subsequently call it the alchemy formula. But I knew that if I came with something that made me different to my predecessors, and the second part was if I created a market, which I now had, which was the city of Cape Town, I could be successful. And Francois, it's interesting. I was successful from month one. I did not struggle. I did well from month one. And in the old days, they don't have the award, but I actually was given the Achievers Award at the end of my 12 months, which is an award for consistency. So the differentiator was having a unique offering that was based on human emotion, not on product or system. And then the second one, I had a market. And I focus on those two elements. And I always said I could do daily workshops on just that aspect of being a successful financial advisor.
I mean, just a quick question around that, Ettienne, because I get a lot of questions from new advisors. This is regardless of age, right? So I think younger advisors who's also new, obviously, find it much harder than an older person who's new, probably because there's life experience, there's networks, there's all sorts of things involved. But what advice would you give to somebody who's fairly young, new, and they don't have a market? Where do they start? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges that they face. I get these messages, help me, I need a business plan, I need this, I need that. I don't know how to enter the market, I don't know where to find clients. That's the biggest thing. Is there any particular sort of, if that was you, what would you do today?
We all have a market, Francois. I think a lot of us don't have the creativity to identify it. And one of the things, the success factors for me was I always surrounded myself with people that were very, very, very successful. I heard Rudolph speak about it as well. So I would go and talk to people that are successful. And often I find if I could only emulate 20% of what they were doing, I inevitably became successful. But man, your cell phone's a market. It's the lack of creativity to actually identify the market. And then the second thing, so the problem is even if you did have a market and identified it, if you didn't have a unique offering that people would want to have you back there, why would they? Then you just become another Paulusmos. So again, it's going to go back to if I've got a unique offering, I could use my cell phone, and I promise you, out of your 100 or 200 contacts you've got on your phone, there's somebody there that works for a company, and if you could show and illustrate your offering and how you could add value to that person or their family or their friends, they would invite you back, go and chat to the HR person, tell them what they've done, and show your value. Man, there's no reason why you cannot do that. There is market everywhere. Every opportunity that was created since 2015, if it wasn't the Act changes within the Pension Funds Act, there was opportunity. The two-pot system was opportunity to create market. We just don't have the creativity to identify it. So if you're not a creative yourself, surround yourself with people that are more creative than you are and let them identify a market. But if you stay in what I call the pick mark, where you're seeing one client, you're never going to be successful. Statistically, I can prove that to you.
Yeah. Now, I must say, one of the things that I always say, because that's the hardest part, right? And I think there's also, I'm not going to say something where I'm going to piss some people off, but that's okay. But I think there's the older generation, which sort of now believes quite strongly that, you got to go through the same shit I went through when I started, because it was hard back then, right? The cold calls, all that kind of stuff. The world has changed. It's much harder to do those things, but we still believe that people need to go through that same, if I say people like newbies, who needs to almost hulle moet hulle tande slyp, to sort of also understand what it's like. They've got to suffer. They've got to all this, and there's merit and value in that. Yeah. But there's also, like, the world is very different today. The one-to-many way of going to, like, let me go speak to groups rather than one-on-ones. Like, I'm a big proponent of that kind of stuff. And how do you open it? On your comment about the creativity, though, so is it a lack of creativity? Or so I'm just sort of exploring this a little bit more. So is it a lack of creativity, or is it more a case also of that I don't have the confidence to go and phone this person that I have on my phone, because I don't know, like, it's just like I for example have had that problem. I just had somebody introduce me to someone yesterday, and I've been around now for over 30 years as well, and I felt too bad, and I know him well, and I felt too bad to ask him to help me introduce me to someone. Like, it's a thing sometimes for people. So how do you also overcome that? Because yes, there's creativity to say, oh, here's an opportunity. How can I do that? But then you also need to take the action to actually do it. And I think there's a block for a lot of people there as well. So how do we address that part? So for me, it's a two-part thing.
I'm going to use exercise as an analogy. Okay, so if I have an exercise for 6 months and my fitness level's depleted, and I'm going to go back to gym, the first 1, 2, 3 weeks is probably going to be not lacquer. It's not going to be pleasant, and I'm going to struggle. But when you get to month 2, 3, and 4, your fitness, now you can start pushing the numbers, and it becomes joy. That concept is the same, but to avoid the discomfort of it is actually the problem. So we say, no, I'm not good at it, and our ego starts giving us all the excuses for why we shouldn't do it. No, just start doing it, because I always said this, one of the critical performances in my practice was filling my diary. I never gave that to a PA. I never gave that to a call center. I never sold that, because I always said seeing the client face to face and filling my diary were the two that's the two critical aspects of being a financial advisor. So if that is so, I'm not going to hand that over. I want to own that. And then you work through the discomfort of it. If that is part of what you need to be a successful financial advisor, try not to sell it off. Try and own it as much as you can and go through the initial discomfort. I promise you, when you start becoming confident that your value proposition is different and it is unique and people start talking about it, telling people about what you do becomes less uncomfortable in time. But you cannot avoid it. It's like, I want to lose weight, but I'm not going to diet, and I'm not going to go to gym. I'm sorry, it's not sustainable. So if you want to, that's one of the requirements. It's like being a dentist, but I don't want to drill teeth. You can't. It's not something you can avoid. I do agree with you that the landscape has changed. You don't have to go through the massive discomfort that we went through 30 years ago. You've got internet, you've got social media, you've got different ways of getting yourself into the market. But again, it's not going to be sustainable if your value proposition is not unique and if people are not going to talk about it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I'm always going to lead you back to that and say, again, and Franco's been interesting the last 12 months since I've sold my practice, and I've co-attended with brokers, and I'm surprised at the poor level of interview skills that I've come across. People that's been in the industry for 20, 30 years, and I co-attend with them, and I leave there horrified at the shocking level of coaching skill, the ability to actually have an interview, because all we've been taught the last 15 years is product, systems, processes, compliance. but nobody's focusing on the ability. I've just completed my coaching qualification with UCT. And you know what was quite interesting? The entire process is based on the ability to ask the right questions. So, you know what? Consider then becoming a financial coach for your client and learn to ask the right questions instead of focusing on the solutions up front or what your company says you should be selling to achieve a target. Work on your differentiator. What makes you unique?
Yeah. Thanks for that, Ettienne. So I'm going to step off a little because there's some stuff here that we definitely need to get into. We've spoken now a lot about doing, starting as a financial advisor, doing the work of a financial advisor, sort of opening markets, etc. in the little time that we've got. But then also, I want to talk about you stepping out of that role into leadership, and then also then from there building and owning your own business, because I think those are three fundamentally different levels, three fundamentally different skill sets, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of people get stuck in the financial advice. And if I say stuck, that's only for people who wants to build a business, but they stuck being a financial advisor. So they are the ones who are stuck. People who want to be a financial advisor, they want to be they're very happy. They're a financial advisor. That's the job they do, and that's it. But how did it come about that, you became a sales manager? And sort of what was it like for you making that transition from giving the advice into now leading people who does that?
I think thank you so much for asking that question, because before I answered from an Ettienne perspective, too many people think, however, that it's glamorous to own a business, and you can go to any one of the big corporates like your Sanlam's, your Liberties. 70% of advisors that attempt to become managers eventually don't pursue it. They don't continue it because they realize that it's actually not as much fun as what they thought. A lot of them go for the status and the stature of being ours a manager, but it doesn't bring them joy. It's not part of what they really wanted to do. And it makes less money than being a decent financial advisor. That's fact. So first establish if that is part of what you want to do. Is that what you want to genuinely become? Or is it your ego saying to you, you know what, I want to be a manager? Because I promise you, it's not that cool. I don't miss the challenges of managing 70 staff every day. But in my case, man, I was probably, as a 14-year-old, I showed leadership ability. I showed the capacity to be thrown into anarchy, and Ettienne he loved it. He sorted that out. So about 6 years into my journey as a financial advisor, I became bored. And I think Tommy identified that. And Tommy saw, hang on, this is future leadership. And I was asking challenging questions. And he then identified that and put me onto the path. But I can also tell you, I showed a photo in Durban, and you might have seen it. Out of that 30-odd people, today, maybe only 5 of them are still managers, because some of them just realize it's not as romantic as you think it is. In my case, I loved the concept of being a leader of people. I'm not a manager. I call myself a servant leader, where I serve others through leadership. And I can't avoid the discomfort of having the political reality. But if you understand our history in the country and apartheid and all of that, there are issues within the Black community that will affect your capacity to be a good financial advisor. I feel I've got a lot to offer in that space in terms of my own leadership and how to transcend that. So my desire to be a leader and a manager went beyond just the financial services aspect, but also looking at South Africa. And I know Kobus is very passionate about this. I'm a passionate South African. And I'm saying, instead of complaining about what's not working, how do I bring change to this country? And so bringing leadership and mentorship and guidance into financial services from a Black perspective, it's really where my deepest passion sits today. And that is the joy that I'm getting from it. So mine, unfortunately, it goes just beyond financial services, but it's a bigger South African reality for me as an individual. I do enjoy it, though. I enjoy the anarchy. I enjoy the big picture thinking. I don't particularly I've always said, so even when I went to study, when I went to university, I didn't do CFP. I did my honors in business management because I knew that I was going to build business. So I'm going to take it back to your question. Unless you know that as an individual, unless you're confident of why you're doing it, man, there's financial advisors that made 100 times more money than I did as a decent financial advisor, because that's where their passion is. So start with knowing what your passion is and just take a check on the ego and saying, why am I doing it? And if leadership and business ownership is part of your DNA, it's a very exciting space. But you also have to look and say, not many actually make money at the end of the day. The failure rate in owning a business is far higher than being associated with an established business. So just this caution, but again, surround yourself with the right people from the start and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Hope that answers it.
Yeah. Before I get into the business side, I mean, you touched on obviously the Black community. I mean, there's sort of, I see this often, right? You'll have, and in our community as well, we've got a number of Black advisors, if I may say that, and varying different levels of experiences in terms of what's working for them, what's not. What's working for one is just like this thing is sorted, is a big problem for someone else, and something that's working for them is a big problem. So it seems like it's obviously a very nuanced, a very much more difficult space to sort of work in. And then you come into a predominantly, call it a white dominated like industry, which is like that's how it is. And like, how do you bridge that? Like, is there like, how do we tackle that? Like, I don't even know how to ask the question, as you can clearly see, Ettienne. Like, but how do we tackle that? Like, what's on your mind? Like,
yeah.
Thank you. How do we start moving the needle?
I wish I had another hour.
I'm sorry, man. I should have led with that.
Yeah, look, and I'm going to start off by saying it's generally a very sensitive question. And there's no blame in my response. If anything, I do think it's a shared accountability. But if you look at a statistic, and I'm saying I'm a Black manager in Cape Town, and in my entire career, it's actually my 31st anniversary on Monday, I've only recruited 2 African Black financial advisors into the life industry. Only 2, and they were not top end. They were middle income group. In the colored community, I did okay, but in the African Black reality, I've only recruited. And the fact that nobody's sitting up and paying attention to that is a concern for me personally. I can tell you what I've learned because I've spent the last 20 years trying to understand it. The divide is not academic. It is not opportunity. It is a lack of understanding the cultural reasons for why people behave the way they do. And unfortunately, one of the sad realities, if a young Black guy that grew up in Gugulethu or Khayelitsha ends up with a Afrikaans manager by the name of Francois de Toy, there is going to be a disjoint because you're not really going to understand why they behave in certain ways or why they do what they do. And so it's a deeper, so just to focus and say we're going to make him a CFP and we're going to give him the best office in Cape Town and we're going to give him an Apple laptop, and it's not going to necessarily guarantee success. I am saying the industry needs to slow down and understand from a cultural perspective why people behave the way they do. Okay, and until you can fix that, until you pay attention to that aspect of it, the result's always going to be the same. And regrettably, at the moment, big corporate is saying, yeah, but we threw millions at it and the result is the same. I'm saying, yeah, but you're throwing the millions at the wrong end of the development of the individual. And I can say that because I spent most of my adult life developing the demons of growing up in the Cape Flats and what you were born to believe as your truth. And undoing that truth and finding a new truth was probably the biggest contributor to my success, not financial services. And unless we address that aspect of it, Kobus, you and I will see the same result 10 years from now. We need to focus on the life skills. And so unless we wait another 10, 20 years for the Model C or the private school kids that's going to come through, and it's unlikely they're going to end up in the life industry. But you know what, unless we address that, the life skill aspect, teaching people about human behavior, about integrity, about financial planning, having a two-account system. Are you paying yourself from your business? Are you living it? Unless we're teaching those skills on an individual level, we're not going to get the desired outcome. We're not going to get the results we're looking for. And in the last 15 years in my franchise, I tested it, and it was successful. It's the biggest recruiter of black advisors in the Western Cape in a very long time, and they're all successful. So in other words, the formula has been tested, but I spent 90% of my energy developing the skill set of the man. I always said this: if I can develop and evolve an amazing man, a man with integrity, with values, he will be a good financial advisor. But what the industry has done for as long as I've known it, we focused on the outcomes, we focused on the targets, and you know what, just make money, and I'll even put you in debt. I don't care if you're an alcoholic, I don't care if you're snorting coke, I don't care, just make money. And I'm saying we need to turn that around. Unless we can actually unearth the value system and be a contributor to the development of good men, we will not have good financial advisors, irrespective of what color you are.
And I mean, my follow-up question on that is obviously because I think there's a massive opportunity to play a massive role in that, right? But I'm just playing devil's advocate here, just to be clear. So you think about that. I mean, the life industry is going to go like, well, that's not our domain. That's not our responsibility. Most companies are probably going to go and do that. I view it very differently, right? So I view it like that is the opportunity, because there's this weird lesson that I learned many years ago, luckily in my life, because of stupid things I've done. And then you learn this lesson. It's like sometimes you do the thing that is not your thing to do, but it leads to everything that you ever wanted. You know, and that for me is this is one of those cases. I look at, like, you know, sometimes we work with these businesses that they're responsible to implement the learnerships and, you know, sort of, you know, all of this like development and all of that kind of stuff. But it's still everything is focused on exactly what you were talking about. Like there is no focusing on any personal development, because what you're really talking about is personal development, but it goes deeper than that. But I mean, that's sort of what you're alluding to. So I just want to double check if I'm on the same page as you, but I'm wondering if people will take up the opportunity and see the opportunity that we are seeing or not.
We hope so. I mean, unfortunately, I've got to ask the question. I'm a young black Southern, well, I'm not young anymore, but why is it that every mentor in my life, Thomas Groening, Reg de Bourgeval, Lee Naken, Johan Pinaar, why were they all firstly white men, South African? So I'm asking the black leadership, where are we in the development of this? Because one of my concerns are it must not be a blame game. It's nobody's fault, okay? It is what it is today. So what am I prepared to do to close the gap? Because that's going to be, so if any person of color comes to me and he does the pity party, hey, you're speaking to the wrong guy. I'm not going to entertain that either. I want to know what it is that you are prepared to do to change that. For big corporate, who unfortunately holds the key to this, to continue ignoring it is just allowing the cancer to continue, because nothing's ever going to get fixed. And one of the sad realities is we're not looking at the failures and why it's failing. We generally just blame the shortest route. I've had a strong, one of the biggest leaders in the independent space in this country say to me last year, yeah, but you know, all you colored people only want to earn 30,000 a month and you don't want to work. And the sad thing is he was a person of color. So I'm saying as long as we have that stance on it, we're saying we're not really interested again in the repair. We just want the desired outcome. And I, in my lifetime, I'm going to pursue the change as long as I can. So even selling my franchise, I had 35 advisors by the time I sold it. I could have left it at that and made money until I retire, Or I could say, how do I take that formula and take it into the market? And you know what? If in 10 years' time I could have changed the lives of 300 people, I would have had a good life. So I do think the formula has been proven that if we change our approach and our methodology to training and development, we can make a difference. I do think so. I think the industry failed us 15 years ago when they closed all training facilities in the industry. Because I don't understand how they thought people were going to come into the industry and succeed without those organizations still in place.
Yeah. What a place for us to have to end, Ettienne. We're out of time. I think that was a very important conversation. It was a very good conversation for us to have. So thank you first and foremost for that. Maybe a last thing, just to leave us at a place with some advice. I think maybe on two ends of it. On the one end, if you're in the position where you are managing, recruiting, building businesses, what can we do better? And then for newbies wanting to come in, or that are coming into the industry or the profession, maybe just one piece of advice for them.
Do not do it on your own. Tap into networks where people are successful. I had a chat with a young man yesterday, Sean, and he's joined the industry recently, but he's on his own. He's in an independent space. And I'm saying to him, you know what, Sean, you're going to continue making the same mistakes. Go and tap into people where there is a success history. Ask what they're doing. If you can only even emulate 20% of what they're doing, I promise you that your life will change. But don't be insistent on what you are doing. Okay, there's always opportunity for learning. I retired last year, and the first thing I did, I registered to go back to university. Why? Because at my age, I still have capacity to learn new ways of being in the world. There's AI. I was listening to the two young people, Rudolph and the young ladies chatting before me, and I sat and I realized the world is changing. I need to change. Okay, so surround yourself with people that are better than what you are, and try and learn from them. There's much more I can share, but you said one thing. For now, tap into what's available to you and learn.
Yeah, brilliant. Ettienne, thank you very much for your time. Time flew by. You and I will have some more chats, etc., and we'll see what we can do. I see people are asking for part twos and all sorts of stuff. So you got yourself into a thing here. So fantastic. But thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. And wishing you all the best and good luck with the second half.
Have a powerful weekend. Thank you so much, everybody.
Righty, fantastic. Yo, what a show. Very different from what we usually do. Really enjoyed it. I've got some goosebumps. So I think it was a very, very good one. It's always it's my indicator of whether a show was good. So thanks again to Ettienne for joining us. I don't have time to go through the comments, but thank you very much. I see there's been a bunch of comments and people really finding it valuable today. Who's my guest next week? Well, next week we've got Jaco van Tonder from 91. Many of you will know who he is. Some of you might not. But we're going to explore passing on the baton. And I've learned a few things around succession in the last couple of weeks, things I've been thinking about, well, a couple of months actually. And I also saw that there's one particular angle that we never, ever look at. And I want to explore that with him next week. So looking forward to that. So please come and join us. And on that note, have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper. Stay curious and continue to raise the bar. Love you lots. Bye-bye.